His phone rang again. It was Minsu. He looked at it but couldn't bring himself to answer. He had promised her that he would protect her, but now he didn't know if he could. That night, as Minsu lay fast asleep, her phone rang. She woke up and quickly answered, relief washing over her when she heard Sonjin's voice. She had been waiting all day to talk to him. He sounded drunk, his words slurred as he told her to come to the parking lot. Without hesitation, she rushed out. When she arrived, she found Sonjin standing beside his car, his eyes red from alcohol. She hurried to him, concerned, and asked what was going on. Without a word, he pulled her close and looked into her eyes, his touch gentle as he caressed her face. Confused, Minsu asked if he was okay and if he had been drinking. Sonjin pulled her even closer and kissed her. Minsu tried to say something, but he leaned her against his car and continued kissing her passionately. He then looked at her again and told her that he loved her, but that he was letting her go. Minsu, stunned, asked what was happening, mentioning the statement from his company. Sonjin told her that being with him would only ruin her reputation and that he had to let her go to protect her. Minsu held his hand tightly and told him she didn't want to let him go, that whatever happened, they could face it together. Sonjin shook his head and told her that his father knew she was his weakness and would do anything to get to him, even if it meant destroying her. He apologized, got into his car, and drove away, leaving Minsu standing there, speechless, her heart aching as if a part of her had been ripped away. Minsu went back to her room and lay in bed, looking at her phone, contemplating calling Sonjin but unable to bring herself to do so. She had no one to call or talk to and didn't want to bother her parents. She just lay in bed, held her pillow close, and cried to herself. It was her first heartbreak, and losing Sonjin had shattered her heart into pieces. The next morning, Sonjin was still in bed, lacking the courage to go to the office after what had happened the previous night. He thought of Minsu, wondering how she was coping. He looked at his phone, tempted to call her, but remembered what was at stake. He put his phone back down and went back to sleep. The next day, Minsu had to wake up early, knowing that despite her heartbreak, life had to go on, and that meant going to work. She tried her best not to let thoughts of Sonjin consume her, but it was a losing battle. She missed him so much and wanted to see and talk to him. However, she held herself together and did her best to stay focused. She went to her part-time job at the preschool for her morning shift, but upon arrival, she was called to the principal's office, where she was told they had to dismiss her due to the news circulating about her. They explained that they didn't want to ruin the organization's reputation. Minsu understood and left, only to receive the same news at her cafe part-time job. Sitting alone in the park, she wondered how everything had crumbled so quickly, how people were so quick to believe lies about her. Her phone rang. It was her parents. Her father, deeply concerned about the things he had seen circulating on the internet, asked if she was okay. With tears in her eyes, Minsu smiled and reassured them that it was all a misunderstanding and that her name would be cleared. She felt terrible for lying, but it was the only way to keep them from worrying. They told her they loved her and that if she was in trouble, she could always come home to talk and spend time with them. She promised she would visit during the semester break. Meanwhile, Sonjin decided to go to work in the afternoon. He walked into Tech Bloom wearing sunglasses to hide his swollen eyes from all the crying. As he entered the reception area, he ran into his father, who immediately questioned why he was late for work. Sonjin replied that he hadn't been feeling well that morning. His father, pleased with him for ending things with Minsu, applauded him and told him he was finally back to his senses. Sonjin looked at him, but said nothing. He only thought about how much he despised him. As they stood there, Minsu passed by. Sonjin's heart skipped a beat as he watched her walk past him. He instinctively tried to go after her, but his father grabbed his shoulder and warned him not to even think about it, informing him that he had instructed the legal officer to contact Minsu so she could come and collect her belongings. Sonjin looked at his father, and with bitterness in his voice, told him not to worry, as his life was his to control anyway. He said this as he walked away. As Sonjin sat in his office, lost in thought about Minsu, he overheard his assistant at the door, telling someone that he was not allowed to see her. Realizing it was Minsu, he immediately jumped up from his seat and rushed to the door.